Alright, sick. Okay, now that I have shopped to my heart's content, let's go over the patch notes. Okay, before we begin, a couple things to remember. TI was about a month ago. The biggest meta standouts, items-wise, were that bracers were extremely overbought. It was the most purchased bracer meta of any TI ever. And the other best item in the game was Solar Crest. So those are the two most obvious things that we expect to get nerfed. A lot of range carries were very popular. Gleipnir was purchased on almost every single hero. That was the other popular item of the patch. So those are probably the items that are going to get hit the hardest, is what we expect to see. Other than that, auras were strong. Definitely a good aura patch. So probably nerfs to Pipe, maybe Crimson, maybe Greaves. But really it was Bracers, Solar Crest, and Gleipnir. Those are the big things. Gleipnir was popular on pros because it allows you to accelerate the game and secure kills on the map, which allows you to do other things. So those are the major changes I'm expecting to see, but we'll see. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, Arcane Boots is another good example. Arcane Boots was purchased very heavily on carries as well as supports. And the reason for this was because the item became a very good regen item. It was a Ring of Basilius and then a Arcane Boots active. So for carries, they basically said like, well, why would I buy a Falcon Blade, which I have to spend 1100 gold to get some mana regen when I can instead just buy Arcane Boots? And they would give up on the effectiveness of having like a Phase Boots or a Treads. For range carries, it wasn't that big of a deal, basically, because you don't get phase boots. Like, losing power treads is a bit of a bummer because it's a lot of attack speed, but they basically just got to solve their mana problems with Arcane Boots. So it kind of needs to get changed because it's just one of those items that's kind of just good on, like, a lot of heroes. Just way too many heroes. So Arcane Boots changed. Recipe cost increased by 100. The total cost increased by 100. The mana regen bonus decreased by 0.25, and the replenished mana restored is decreased. So basically, it's more expensive, and it gives you less mana. So, makes it just straightforward worse for carries. You're getting 0.25 less, and what's the cooldown on this? 55. So let's do a quick bit of math. 55 divided by the replenish, so 175 divided by 55. It used to give you 3.18 mana per second with the active, plus the passive of 0.5. So the mana I gave you before was 3.68. Okay, 3.68. I'm going to write that down because I'm going to forget. 3.68. And now it is 150 divided by 155. Or divided by 55. That's 2.72 plus 0.25. So now it gives you 2.97 mana. So it costs more money and it gives you basically 0.71 less mana. So instead of 3.68, it gives you 2.97. So it is way worse individually because you're losing 0.5. If your teammate has it, it's basically the same, more or less, because you don't really get as much mana trickle bonus. But definitely a worse item. Keep in mind that in the last patch, at least, like rushing Arcane Boots was kind of bad versus buying Bracers. But yeah. All right, and there's the Bracer change. No longer doubles its bonuses at 25 minutes. This makes sense, basically. This is part of the problem with the item, right? Is that it would give you... I didn't know they were going to necessarily go this way with the change, but it's smart. Oh, it looks like it's going to be the same for Null Talismans. Maybe a Wraith Banzel will stay because it's the least popular of the three items. But the fact... it's basically just like an early game item now, and it doesn't scale as well. But before, the problem was that players could fill up on Bracers in their inventory slots, and then the item would continue to be good after 25 minutes because it was giving you a massive amount of health. It was giving you 10 strength and 100 health, which is basically 220 plus 100. So it was a 320 HP item. Plus it gave you agility, intelligence, and health regen. So it was just way too good as the game transitioned. So the fact that it doesn't double anymore means that it's now worse than Magic Wand to sell first as an item. But just the nature of Bracers, they just got a little bit too good, and this is probably a good solution because it's not going to be as worth it to fill your inventory up with Bracers. It's still a good item, but it's not going to make you like have 2500 HP as a support anymore, which is fair. Crimson Guard duration decrease. This was nerfed. Auras get nerfed. Disperser Suppress no longer makes caster or ally unslowable, and it now provides 40% slow resistance for the duration. Okay, I think that's a fair compromise. It still kind of does similar to what it did before, but it's not like I completely hard counter time zone or whatever slow that's being applied. And I don't know if Guardian Greaves is going to do, or not Guardian Greaves, Boots of Baron is going to do the same change, but I think this is a good change to make things a bit more fair. Gleipnir recipe cost increased by 300, total cost up by 300, damage bonuses decreased, attack speed decreased, health decreased, chain lightning damage decreased. So not the biggest nerf to the item, honestly. It's going to come a little bit later, and it also makes upgrading from Maelstrom to Gleipnir feel less effective because you're paying 300 gold more money for a slightly worse item. It's not that much worse, but it is worse. This gives you 275 health, and now Gleipnir gives you 275 health. 15 int to 24 int. So when you upgrade to Gleipnir, you're basically paying for like 9 intelligence, plus the active becoming better. But all the other like passive advantages that you were getting is just not going to be there. Like basically you're just putting items together. You're saving slots basically. 25 damage, 25 attack speed. It's right there. So moderate nerf to the item, but it's probably still going to be useful on the heroes that want to buy it. But yeah, certainly worse by a little bit, but very small amounts. I mean, we're talking 5 damage, 5 attack speed, health bonus. The cost is the bigger thing. It's going to take longer to finish the item, and it becomes quite expensive again. So Gleipnir, again, nerfed. Guardian Greaves, total cost increased due to the Arcane Boots increase. So Greaves is just slightly worse, but not that much worse. A lot of the times when I buy Greaves, though, the Arcane Boots is kind of like a side effect, personally, because usually I don't necessarily like upgrading, because it's kind of expensive to pump your money into this. It's 900 gold now to get Arcane Boots. That's very costly. You could have a lot of other items. You think it should have removed catching people in fog? In some ways, yes, but like I don't think that's like, I think that's a way to use it, that you can catch people that are TPing in trees. I think reducing the base numbers and making it more expensive is fine. Just make the item less appealing. Like you're spending 6,000 gold basically to get an AoE root. Why not just buy a Deso, for half the cost and do way more damage? Like it's not a very good damage item. It's really about the catch and the survivability it gives, and it's gonna be worse at that. Null Talisman also doesn't double at 25 minutes anymore, so this is also gonna be an item that doesn't transition as well. This the reason they also nerf Null. This is less deserving than Bracer, but the reason they nerf Null is because it is one of the best mana regen items in the game, and that's why a lot of cores are also buying Null Talismans, even if they're not an int hero. You see Vipers buying Null Talismans, for example, just because it solves their mana regen problems without having to like buy other stuff. So rough one for some heroes, especially heroes like Storm that want more max mana bonus, but they don't really buy more than like one anyways. So there's also some supports that'll be really sad about this, like Skywrath Mages, kind of a thing. Maybe Techies or something, but it's probably fair. Pavis is getting nerfed, of course, because it is part of the Solar Crest, and it is probably too good. Protect physical damage barrier decreased down to 250. The protect duration goes down by 1, and the mana cost goes up. Okay, so a lot more mana expensive. They're not going to change the cooldowns much, but they're going to try to make it still about as good, but it's going to be a little bit harder to use it efficiently, and it costing more mana is obviously expensive, especially when Arcane Boots is worse and Null Talisman is worse, so you're spending more mana to use it. Pipe barrier duration decreased by 2 seconds, which is pretty fair. This is the really obvious way to nerf the item. It's still going to make it good for pro teams because they're going to use the item at the right time because they're pros. But for average players, it's going to be harder to use correctly, right? Because you need to press it, and your opponents need to damage you within that 8-second window. 8 seconds versus 10 feels like a lot to me. This feels like a moment where you can kite. 10 seconds is kind of a long time where it's like, well, we're kind of committed. We kind of have to cast spells, and then the pipe is eating them up. So that kind of hurts. Ring of Basilius giving less mana regen is going to definitely hurt laning stage for some heroes that would rush this item. It wasn't like... I mean, like Deuces are going to be sad about this for sure. Some heroes like that. Deuces especially. They might still get Arcane Boots, but the fact that it gives that much less mana regen is kind of a big deal. Alright, here's the other half of Solar Crest nerfed. Health duration. Health bonus decreased by 25, so it gives less raw health bonus. Shine duration is decreased, the shine bearer is decreased, the bonus attack speed is decreased. So basically just worse. Still good, I would say. It's just a little bit less good. Keep in mind that between the health bonus decrease of 25 and the shine barrier decrease of 50, this now gives you yourself 75 less HP when they go on you, which is a pretty big deal. Much more likely that you end up dying. So definitely matters here. Spirit Vessel health restoration reduction on enemies increased by 10%, so made this item better. And now the soul release now always gains a charge when the owner dies. Oh, okay. So this means if you already have charges and then you die, you also get one. You don't have to be at 0, which I think is a nice buff. Makes the item a little bit better. Spirit Vessel was pretty under-purchased at TI. Maybe we saw it on some Invokers or something, possibly. But I don't even know if that's true. This item got nerfed in the sense that it doesn't give stats anymore. It just gave health. They changed the build-up on the item. So they just took the attributes away from it. To nerf it because it was a little bit too popular on universal heroes like Brewmaster who were rushing it. So now it's just a health, armor, mana regen item, kind of just like a piece of HP. So it doesn't really make your hero stronger, but it does do its job, which is percentage of current health damage and reducing heal. Not the best item to rush, but if you do need raw HP, it's kind of a good item. But it is pretty expensive for a hero like a support to purchase the item. Wraithband also no longer double. Why can't they put these together? I don't know why everything's spread out like that. Anyways, Wraithbands also no longer double their bonuses at 25 minutes. This is the neutral item that is going to, or this is the base item that's probably going to be the least popular, I assume. I expect that people are not going to touch Wraithbands that much. I don't expect people to buy more than like one Wraithband anymore in the early game. It does give you some nice advantage, but like snipers buy a lot of Wraithbands is one hero that's going to hurt on this because they won't get double the bonus at 25, but who would even buy one? So it's nice to have this sometimes because it is still going to be an attack speed increase and armor. Like it's giving you like 2.5 armor. If you're against a lineup that has some minus armor in lane, a Wraithband is still pretty good. Like if you're against like a CK or a Weaver or a Tusk or something, you kind of want a Wraithband because the problem is that when they go on you, they just do too much physical damage and they're going to kill you. If you don't have this slightly extra HP and this extra armor while being a right-click hero, like it's kind of dangerous to lane against those guys. Maybe you could buy like a Ring of Protection instead, but Wraithbands are good against those heroes. Yeah, heroes like Void, there's a lot of hard carries as well that are just not strong heroes early on, and Wraithbands will help you because they give you extra damage and extra attack speed, and they will make jungling a little bit more efficient too because your armor's higher when you're jungling. So there's heroes like that, the Wraithbands are going to feel good, but my assumption is that these 3 items are going to feel much worse right now. I think the most valuable ones by far are still going to be Bracer and Null. They still get you through the laning stage. They will still give you very efficient HP for the cost. They just won't transition. You just won't see them populate inventories past 25 minutes like you used to before. And supports will definitely buy them in less abundance. Most likely. Because now people are going to be thinking like, well, do I really want a Bracer that's not going to transition in the mid game? Or would I rather like slowly build towards a Spirit Vessel? Which gives me more HP than a Bracer does. And does actually does something. This is not pre-recorded. You are proven wrong. Goodbye. All right, let's move on. Caesar Serenity, Virtuous Dale duration decreased down to 8 seconds. 14 to 8. Seems fine. I mean, for jungling, it's going to be worse. This is arguably one of the best neutral items because it gives you a stupid amount of regen and really good health. But surely you want Falcon Blade for something like this. At least on heroes like Viper and Drow. Falcon Blade is good because it gives you mana regen, but it's also like more than twice the cost of a Wraithband. In some circumstances, having 2 Wraithbands is going to be better than Falcon Blade, without a doubt. You will be stronger in that time period. Alright, hero changes. Anti-Mage Bane's Mirror. Counterspell, Reflected Spell Amp increased by 10%. Reflected Spell Amp increased by 30 to 40. Is this a shard one, or... This might be the shard one, I can't recall. I think you need a shard to do this. Level 10 talent plus 10%. Counterspell magic resistance replaced with 3 health regen. Okay. Yeah, nobody's really going to get this. Well, that's not true. If you're against a lot of magic damage, getting 10% more magic resistance is good. But those were garbage 10 talents. Holy crap. One of them's a mana void radius and the other one's magic resistance, which neither of them helps you in the early game at all. Like, I imagine all anti-mages just weren't getting those talents at 10. It's just not worth it. Unless you're, like, actively getting harassed. But, like, you're level 10, you're going to be jungling and split pushing and stuff. Kind of weird. 3 health regen makes more sense. It's going to help you lane a bit, or jungle a little bit better. 20 Firefly duration replaced with +2 Smoldering Resin duration. That's your right-click one. It's kind of a cool change. It's going to make right-click Batrider a little bit more viable here, if you want it. If you go for the tower killing facet as well, also better. It's just way better on right-click Batrider. 2 Flame Break charges is really good. And I think almost everybody grabbed that on Batrider. So this is just going to give you a little bit more viability in different ways. So maybe right-click Batrider is a bit back slightly. Beastmaster, Primal Roar duration is going to be up. Heal from Heroes decreased again. Drums of Slum, again, getting nerfed. Still probably a decent item, but this is basically the only way that people play Beastmaster right now. People don't go the other builds. Level 10 talent, Inner Beast Magic Resist increase from 5 to 10. That seems quite good. Everyone goes to Wild Axe's damage per stamp because of the facet. That gives you more Wild Axe hits. Basically, you can turn it on and it's like every time you attack, it's like you're hitting with the Wild Axes. But 10% Inner Beast Magic Resist is really good. Like, that's kind of broken. Why don't people just play Aura Beastmaster? Just Inner Beast Magic Resist. So anybody near you within 1,200 units just gets 10% magic resist. I can't believe they went from 5 to 10 with that one. That one seems wild to me. It's like the most obvious thing ever. Okay, now I'm just going to play Aura Beastmaster, and I'll have Pipe, which gives, what, 8% magic resistance Aura right now? If I could find the darn item. 8% magic resistance Aura, but Inner Beast is going to give 10. That just seems kind of really good to me. Really, really good. Keeps your creeps alive. Keeps your teams alive. It's not just against creeps, like it's against all heroes. So I don't know. That talent seems really good to me. Bloodseeker, Blood Rage. Mana cost decreased from 25 to 0. Okay, that's pretty nice actually. It's going to make jungling a lot more efficient. Basically, you don't have to spend mana anymore to cast Blood Rage, so you can basically just AFK jungle. As long as you're killing the creeps and healing from it, then Blood Rage is not going to cost you much. It's still costing you max health damage per second, of course, but a nice buff to Bloodseeker. Pros have been complaining about Bloodseeker. He's like basically only good against Pango. Bounty Hunter Janata bonus damage rescaled to be better early, worse later. Kind of interesting change considering Bounty Hunter wasn't touched at TI. Maybe once he got picked, but I didn't see. There weren't that many games at TI. Overall, there wasn't like a big fat group stage based on the format, but better early is fine. I actually don't like getting Janata that much early because the scaling is bad. This doesn't really change my mind about it. It does make it better level 1, which is Bounty Hunter does struggle a lot as a laning hero right now. Shuriken Toss is a great harassment tool, but it does 100 damage at level 1 with a 5-second cooldown. That part's good, but I'm not really sold on any other builds. I don't even max out Janata second typically because I don't really feel like it's that good. Because you don't really crit as much with track anymore, right? You just get damage amp of 6%, so... But I'm not sure. I saw that Nouns played Bounty Hunter against Fart Studios in one of the qualifiers, which, you know, isn't like a pro team fighting a pro team, but I think he went double Bracer Greaves was his first items as a 4-position Bounty Hunter, which sounds about right. Get tanky, heal your team with the extra gold you're getting. That's about it. Just want everybody to know that this was because of me. Holy Persuasion. Sacrificing creeps with Martyrdom. Ag Scepter now triggers on death effects. That was me. That was me. Sent that one in. That was me. You guys remember? You guys remember my cool Chen build that I was going to try? My cool Chen build with Hellbears and Ags. And then I sacrificed my Hellbears and they give my team attack speed and damage. That was me. I sent that one in. Well, we're trying that today, that's for sure. Let me write that one down. Oops. Chen, Ags, Hellbears. Let's go. All right. Clockwork. Expanded Armature. Power cogs. Enemy heroes caught are no longer pulled to the center of the formation. Now they're placed inside as far away from the center as possible while not touching a cog. Okay, so before when you'd cast it and you'd make a big circle, it would zip everybody right to the middle. But there's a lot of space in the middle that isn't touching cogs. So rather than them teleporting like 300 units, they're only going to teleport like 150, basically. So they'll be inside. They won't be touching the cogs, but they won't be all the way in the very center. So it's a slight nerf towards this ability because it's not necessarily going to reposition them as negatively as you might intend, which is good and bad. Number one, if you are chasing somebody and trying to pull them farther away from their salvation, then it is worse. If you're using it to run away from opponents and you accidentally catch them in your cogs, they're not quite as close to you now, which is good. But it's probably a nerf. They don't get instantly zapped and then allow you to hit another one. Are you saying that could happen? That you could cog somebody and they'd be instantly pushed to the middle? If they're not pulled to the center of the formation, I think this is just a distance thing. I'm not mistaken. It always happens. They get knocked by cogs and pushed in the middle. Okay. I don't play clock that often. I play them occasionally, but all right. Well, nerf. This is the faster than most people take. Crystal Maiden, agi gain increase. Woo! Better carry. Level 15 talent, Crystal Nova cooldown reduction increase. Dude, this talent is actually so good. It's really, really good.
The Crystal Maiden.
Crystal Nova is an 8-second ability. This talent now puts it at 3.5. 3.5 second cooldown for a 5-second slow. This is a great farming skill. They're trying to make Crystal Maiden a core. It's coming, guys. This agility bonus, it's not a lot, but it's a little. It's going to give her slightly more armor, like really small amount more armor, and slightly more attack speed, which means she's a more viable core. Because for cores to be valuable, ideally you can attack a little bit quicker. So maybe we'll try some CM core. This is not a big deal. Crystal Maiden, get the Nova CD. I don't have to play her as a core. I just need to get the 15. The other one is Frostbite cast range, which is good. But Crystal Nova cooldown is crazy for what it does for your game in terms of pushing lanes. Because you just get to like double Nova creep wave within 3.5 seconds. It's actually a really big, and God forbid you get to level 25 and you get that Crystal Nova damage talent that does plus 300 damage. Then you're Novaing for 560 damage every 3.5 seconds. Like it's wild actually. It's a lot. Dawnbreaker, Celestial Hammer, mana cost decrease by a little bit. Projectile speed increase. I mean the heroes basically unpicked at TI. Didn't see much popularity at all. There were better offlaners. There was also a lot of range carries, so playing Dawnbreaker 3 just wasn't really that viable because I don't think she's that great against ranged carries who kind of just gap close away from her or can limit her gap close. So it's part of the reason that Dawnbreaker is probably worse too. So just small buffs here. Dazzle talent. So basically what needs to change to make sometimes there's heroes like this in the meta that just don't get touched because the heroes that they're playing against constantly are just better against them, you know? So if you're playing against a lot of Wind Rangers, basically, and TAs and other ranged carries, Medusas or something, then it's just not worth picking Dawnbreaker. So you could buff her because she's not played in the previous patch, but sometimes you have to be a little careful because it could kind of make the hero go crazy. So far, based on reading this patch, this feels like a medium patch. It feels like a medium patch, small patch. Like they're just buying us some time to make the game more interesting until the really big patch comes out, which is kind of normal after TI. They usually have patches like this that happen while they're waiting. Is that global vision not that useful? It's useful in a little bit. Like you can hypothetically get ganks with it. Absolutely. That part's cool. But it doesn't mean that the hero is like viable and worth picking. And pro players will be better against playing around that. So I don't know if it matters as much against pro players. Dazzle attack speed talent increased. The poison touch DPS talent increased. Dazzle got picked a little bit of TI, but not much. And the hero is basically the same as he was last year, which is just go mid, rush ags. No other playstyle seems viable to me. I haven't tried playing him support. I should just do it. Try Dazzle support. I used to love playing Dazzle. He was one of my favorite supports. I love going in the lane. His base stats were higher than other heroes. I would fight people to the death. I transitioned to a heal and save bot, which might have been really good in the last patch, honestly. Just between like bracers and solar crest and stuff. It might have been good, now that I think about it. But I didn't take that opportunity. Maybe it will be decent now. 90 attack speed is so much attack speed, but I have to get the Shadow Wave heal damage if I'm a support. The 10 talents are kind of bad. I don't think I've seen a single player play Dazzle support lately. I believe you can also deny Poison Touch right now, which is kind of weird, because that makes laning Dazzle as a support just straight up worse, because you have to worry about the people you're killing get denied, which is like, why did they put that in? It's like they put it in because like the Poison Touch seemed too good, but then also like, but then nerf it in a different way. I don't know. Overhealing converted into barrier. This is the part that I kind of want to try. Poison Touch is kind of cool, but I think I'd have to try Nothel Bloom. The overhealing. So that would make Holy Locket really good on the hero. The more overhealing you're doing, the better. So overhealing would be good because it's giving barriers to everybody. I could try it, see if it works okay. Then I gives you experience at least, so that's good. Yeah, people play Dazzle mid, but that's the only playstyle. Death Prophet base damage increased by 2. Spirit count increased. This is a big difference. Makes first exorcism better. Base damage is good. Her animation is really bad, so last sitting with her can be a bit of a challenge. So base damage increased by 2 is pretty nice. I like playing Death Prophet. She feels okay right now. Her third facet is the best one probably. With a blade mill, it's fantastic. Oh, I see. It's the same later. So they're just trying to make her level 6 a little stronger, which it is quite a bit stronger. 2 extra spirits is 25% damage increase from her first ulti. So kind of a big deal. We could try to play Death Prophet maybe at some point today. Make her 6 better. I think I had more success playing her as an offlaner the one time I played her. Her mid is okay. It's a little bit harder to side lane rotate because you don't have mobility, so you kind of have to like wait till people overextend and then get behind them with your spells. And I think I need to adjust my item build a little bit. I've been going Blade Mail and sometimes into like Yules or something, but maybe an Atos is good. Atos Witchblade, for example, could be good to help disable people. Witchblade's kind of cool. Gives you a little bit of damage, some armor. The attack speed is nice. I haven't tried too much of the attack speed facet though. I keep going magic resistance myself. And maybe like Bloodstone is just kind of mandatory, I feel like. But Bloodstone's just a little worse, so I'm kind of like afraid to get it. Could also go maybe a Dagon build. It's kind of a cool idea. Just go Dagon instead on the hero. Kind of like Queen of Pain. Bloodstone is very cool in theory on the hero though, because if you are committed on hard, then getting this extra spell lifesteal could give you an insane amount of heal. Like when they really commit to you, pop the Bloodstone and Spirit Siphon like 2 heroes, like you might just get full healed. But Dagon, being able to Dagon a creep is kind of sick, in my opinion. So I'm a little unsure. It's also much cheaper. This gives you mana regen. Maybe I should just go Bloodstone. Mana regen, raw HP, AoE bonus. The AoE bonus is kind of wasted, but it's kind of cool in theory. I'm also glad that this like click back, scroll to the top thing stops happening in patch notes. That's really nice. All right, Doom Gluttony. Base charge restore time decreased by 5 seconds. This is nice. It makes it more viable to get this. The base ability on Doom, Devour is 70 seconds. With all the other ones, with Gluttony, it was a little bit high at 90. So now you get closer to the same amount of gold per second getting this Gluttony one. So if you do want to focus on creep abilities, it's slightly more viable. And level pain now only applies to Doom's attacks. I didn't know it did that. This just worked. Your spells did bonus damage to players that were lower level than you. That's going to really be felt in nerfs, guys. That's going to be a big deal. Holy crap. This hero's going to lose like a couple of percentages of win rate. I didn't know this existed. The fact that this probably applied to his spells, I'm guessing, and that's wild. That means that he had 15% spell amp against heroes, which is a shitload. That is a shitload. 15% spell amp to be ahead of your opponents. A wild increase. So Doom is going to be in the gutter right now as a result. Guys, I'm sorry, but this is a no football chat. It's my one rule. No American football. Creep spells? What do you mean creep spells? It probably did apply to creep spells, yes. Anyways, Doom carry is dead. Don't even pick the hero right now. Hero's going to be worse. Hockey I'll allow, but no American football. No, I'm just kidding. This is just a bad time to talk about football, guys. Wait until my chat gets a little dead, which is going to happen as soon as this patch notes is over. Dragon Knight. Fireworm, cleave distance decrease. This was like the by far most popular Dragon Knight build. I've lost to like one blue dragon ever, I think, and they basically tempoed us and got a quick Bloodthorn, and that felt okay. But Fire Dragon was like one of the most popular carries at TI just because it farmed so stupidly fast and it was survivable. So it had to get nerfed. This will make farming a little bit slower, but not a huge amount. Dragon Knight won't feel much effects there. Base agility increased by 2 for Drow. Pretty big deal. 2 damage, 2 agility. It's going to make a small difference in the laning stage. Overprotective Wisps nerfed a little bit. You have to take 25 more damage to proc 1. Enchant Hero's move slow duration decreased to scale, so it's worse at level 1 than it used to be. And then Sprint cooldown increase as well. Just generic nerfs to Enchantress, who is still a popular hero at TI because of her laning stage prowess. Give me them Grimstroke buffs. Ink's Tendrils DPS increased. I don't like these changes. This doesn't... I want Grimstroke to be able to exist outside of his third and ultimate skill, if possible. And it doesn't seem to be the case still. The hero is basically an Inkswell bot or a I'm doubling somebody's spell on my team bot. I love his first skill. I like the artist facet. I think it's fun. I think his second skill is cool. But I hate having to rely... I hate on Grimstroke's meta edge being reliant on Inkswell Shard or his ultimate, because then his other skills don't get buffed in fun ways. That's all. I find that frustrating. Stroke of Fate damage increased by 5% for his 20 talent, which is cool. There's probably some play... I should play Grimstroke mid. Grim mid or Grim 4, I think. Maybe Grim 5, but probably Grim 4, Grim 3. Grim 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Somewhere in there. Gyrocopter base damage increased by 2. Woo! It's going to help with Flak Cannon, help with last hitting. Straight up better hero as a result. Hunter's Boomerang cast range increased. Good for Hoodwink, so better able to cast your and combo your spells without being in danger. Huskar, life break, heal radius increased by 150. This is a big deal. Huskar's facets that came out the first 2 were kind of both just bad, it seemed like, but this one actually looks slightly usable now because you can heal in a big radius. 550 is a lot. This could potentially make Huskar viable more as some kind of a supporty type role. It's probably not even close yet, but this facet could potentially do it. The also heals friendly units in a radius around the target. Okay, I don't know how much you heal. Based, is it how much you're doing? I don't quite know. Also heals friendly units. So it's probably like whatever damage you deal to your opponent, you also heal to your allies, is my guess. And I think this facet could absolutely be useful. This one's pretty good because you are doing a max health burn, which is really good against high HP heroes. But the fact that you could heal allies is a big deal. I mean, you could pump like a 500 HP heal into one of your allies. It's a huge, huge impact. Is there a cooldown? Life break cooldown at 20, -5. Like, if you're getting this down to a 7-second cooldown, you could heal your allies for that much every time you life break. Like, it could be really, really good. I think that has potential. Invoker was pretty popular at TI, not like top meta, but he was definitely good. They're going to get nerfs to Ghost Walk. You can while you're ghost walked right now, you can cast other spells. Oh, well, you can't cast them, but you can prep them. So you can change your orbs and prepare your next spells. And this was kind of broken because it meant that while you were invisible, you could prepare your next spells to cast. So when the fight started, you could cast 3 spells. Before, you would have to get Ghost Walk prepped. And when you'd come out of Ghost Walk, you would use one of your spells that you're ready with, and then you'd queue up a second spell. So you'd basically only get 2 spells upon revealing Ghost Walk. So basically, Ghost Walk got too good. And the fact that it gave you a lot of regen while it was up was also kind of tough. It was also kind of good because you could basically pop Ghost Walk, heal a bunch while you're invisible, and then jump out with 3 spells. So they're going to nerf it. It gave you health regen and mana regen, and it's way worse late game. Look at this, 24 health regen versus 45. This is a big nerf to this functionality of the skill. The mana regen is still pretty good / pretty high. It's close to as good as it was, but the health regen part was probably way too good. Because you could basically like get low, pop Ghost Walk. Even with 3 points in quaffs, you're getting 20 HP per second, which is a giant amount at that stage of the game. So very needed. Juggernaut getting a duelist bonus damage. This is his innate. When people are facing him, he deals 12% more damage. And the healing word mana cost is dropped down to 120 at all levels, which is going to make his laning better. The one obvious thing that hasn't been addressed here, and one of the things that makes Juggernaut in some ways unplayable, is that if your opponent picks Mars and gets the ultimate, where vision is lost inside the of allies, I think, is lost, it stops Juggernaut ulti from working. You just stop slashing people in there. So you could argue like, oh, I should just not ulti while in the Mars ulti, but it's kind of fucked up. I don't know. I feel like that should be fixed. It feels like a bug to me, and it should be removed. Like being able to just guarantee stop somebody's ulti just because vision is a bit goofy just doesn't really feel fair to me. It's like I should be giving vision with my hero, you know? So if I see heroes, I should be slashing them. It shouldn't just... It's a bug. It's a bug. It feels like a bug. So that's one thing that's hurting Juggernaut, but talents like these little facet changes will help a little bit, because that's going to mean when you're Omni slashing half the time, every other slasher in their front. So this is going to make his Omni slash damage on average do 1% more damage, which is kind of a big deal, because, you know, these little numbers will sometimes make you get a kill or not. And more mana from Healing Ward is a big deal. It's 20 extra mana every time you use Healing Ward, which means you might have mana for spin. Kunkka, one of the most broken heroes at TI, and the reason why was because of damage reduction. The problem is that when you take damage on damage reduction, the damage you're taking is technically delayed. But if you activate Blade Mail while taking rum damage, you're reflecting full Blade Mail damage. But you haven't taken the actual damage from your opponent until later. So if you pop Blade Mail on Kunkka when you get gone on, this innate that just was there would reduce the damage you take by 20%. And you wouldn't take that damage until 10 seconds later, which is a really long time in a team fight. That's like the team fight is like deep before you'd finally take the damage. So Blade Mail on Kunkka was just kind of broken because you were just reflecting all this damage instantly at the start of the fight. If you got gone on without casting your spells and you pop Blade Mail, just Blade Mail, you were doing a good job because you're basically just doing way more damage than they're doing to you. And if you also got hit with a Ghost Ship buff, it's an extra 35%. So you'd basically be reflecting like double the damage that you were taking with Blade Mail. And then later on, maybe you survive, you know? So this is going to make killing Kunkka easier. If you hard commit to him, you only have to commit to him for about 6-ish seconds before he's basically killable. Before it was 10. The Ghost Ship damage is going to be decreased as well to make it weaker early, just because the combo on that Kunkka was just kind of easy right now. You just X, cast Ghost Ship, cast Torrent, run in with Blade Mail. And you kind of just got to do this just by having levels and finishing Blade Mail. The other thing that's important to remember is that there is actually a facet that increases your rum damage delay at 20. It's plus 15%. And that number applies to both your rum and your Ghost Ship rum. So that means at level 20 on Kunkka, your rum damage delayed is 35% and your boat damage delayed is 50%. Slap those babies together because they're additive, and you are talking about an 85% damage delay for your hero. So if you pop Blade Mail and people do 10,000 damage to you, you've only taken like 1,500 damage, but you've reflected with Blade Mail 10,000 damage. That number is not unrealistic. 10,000 damage. You've reflected 85% of it. So the rum damage delay talent at 20 is very, very good. Yes, the delay is additive, I believe. So this is why Kunkka was broken at TI. And one of the teams that figured this out first, I think, was Team Spirit. At least that was the team that I saw abusing it really well. You basically just get a blade mail on Kunkka. You go play aggressive on the map in places you're not supposed to. Kunkka's in the front. They go on Kunkka thinking this is all going to be fine, and you blade mail reflect a shitload of damage, and then possibly cast your spells, and you have a good time on your hero and on your team. Because now you're like, well, they used all their spells on a guy who's getting damage delayed, and now he casts his combo, and we're going to have a good fight. That's basically what would happen. So I also thought about DP at partway through the tournament. I tweeted about it because blade mail should work really good on her as well because of the damage delay. The harder thing for her, though, is that she's less useful with just blade mail. With just blade mail, Kunkka can cast all of his spells and be useful. And he gets to initiate, and he gets to team fight. But Death Prophet, on the other hand, it's like, what if they just run away from you, you know? What if they silence you? You're not a strength hero, so your blade mail doesn't go as far as well, is the other thing. So you don't have as much raw HP as Kunkka does. It's just a little bit worse, basically. So it still is going to be viable for Death Prophet. I'm still going to buy blade mail on Death Prophet with that third facet. But, yeah. Kunkka needed to get nerfed. I think the Admiral's Rum one that's nerfed here is the most helpful, for sure. Because this means if you jump him and chain stun him without him casting any items or pressing his ulti, even if you press his blade mail and you chain stun him, at least you don't have to deal with 10 seconds worth of damage delay. It's much better chance to kill him. You don't really remember DP being picked other than by that Chinese guy who's an expert on tanky mids. You talking about XM? Did he pick him? I don't know if he did. Lich, Frost Shield damage reduction increased by, ooh, that's a big amount, 15% at level 1. Much, much better level 1 skill. It lasts for 5 seconds instead of 8, but like, this is a huge change to the hero. Arguably. It looks like they buffed the damage of Frost Shield up from 15 to 18 as well. So it's a pretty good level 1 skill. It does 90 damage at level 1, which is not bad. It's actually a really good level 4 skill too. It does like 400 damage. Is that right? No. What's 6 times 80? It does 480 damage at level 4, which is a very good AoE nuke. You could hypothetically max this out. It's a 15-second cooldown and just spam this on every wave. I wonder how viable this is. You could like genuinely just play mid, max it first, and just push waves. How do they trade with you, you know? And on a 15-second cooldown, you can jungle pretty good with this. I wonder if this is viable. Lich mid question mark? First skill is also fantastic for spamming, but the mana cost is really not that bad on this, 130. The downside is they have to stand next to you for 8 seconds for this to work, but you can have 100% uptime. I mean, I don't know how you do that, but... Oh, Frost Shield duration. There we go, at level 20. That puts it at 12 out of 15. Yeah, that's pretty good. The other one's Chain Frost on Death, which is an appealing talent, obviously. But yeah, there's definitely some Frost Shield builds that could be played around. These numbers are actually quite good and should be... They just keep buffing this skill. 45% damage reduction for 5 seconds, like laning. Against the right heroes, I think this skill looks really good. If you're against some like Tusk dual lane or something, most dual lanes, frankly, this is a big damage reduction. Gigantic survivability. And then you can use your third skill to kill creeps too. So you could use this on range creeps. With Frost Blast too, I suppose. But I feel like Frost Blast, Frost Shield just is too good early on. Between these two skills, you're doing 120. You basically have like 210 damage at level 2, which is kind of a shitload. If you pair a Blood Grenade on top of that, Frost Blast, Frost Shield, Blood Grenade, people are very slowed and they're taking quite a bit of damage. And you're not dying because you have damage reduction. That just looks good to me. Get some raw HP on Lich, pop a Frost Shield, fight to the death. Feel like you can win that. If you happen to get early eggs, you can farm mega fast. Yeah, that's what I think you mentioned that to me at one point. I've been thinking about it. It's a cool thought. The downside of the fast ags, I would still feel the need to go blink first if I'm playing like mid or something. But there's definitely some viability there, I think. Lifestealer Feast. Max health lifesteal has been increased to 1.5 level 1. Just basically 0.25 better all levels, and the max health damage is also increased. Bare Necessities has... but it was one of the things that was kind of discovered at TI is really broken with the right items. They would go Gleipnir, they would go Disperser, and the third item was, I don't remember, maybe Scotty or something. I don't remember. Stat bonus no longer applies to the items in the neutral slot, which is fair, and the stat bonus has been decreased. Wow, big nerf. 30% instead of 50. The problem was basically like you would get way too strong with your first item because you'd be getting 50% more bonus. Now it's still going to be decent late game once you're like level 18, but it's not going to be nearly as oppressive in these first two chunks. And this might make the hero way less viable because 20% is, we're talking like he's just going to have a couple hundred less HP early on. So, Savage Roar cooldown talent nerfed again. -5 seconds. Nobody gets the Spirit Bearer armor talent because Savage Roar is just too good because it's a dispel on both your heroes. Excuse me. Alright, Luna Moonstorm. This is another carry of the patch that I forgot to mention. Whose range? Moonstorm. Lucent Beam no longer grants bonus damage when hitting illusions. And the damage buff per beam has been decreased. Okay. Beam damage decreased by 5. This hero's still going to be good. Losing 5 damage on the beam is a little bit impactful because there's slightly higher chance that your opponent denies you. But basically, you just loosen beam. Like, you basically lost damage on Luna because of the change to her innate, because it's just less damage. But the upside was that if you just loosen beam an enemy hero, you would get bonus 4 damage. And that 4 damage plus your innate here would basically make your damage about the same. So basically now you had the same damage, but you also had loosen beam. Whereas before you would have the same damage with your third skill, which was your bonus damage. So now she has a mini stun basically of 0.6. It's not even that bad. It's a stun. It's like a medium stun. She has a medium stun. She had a nuke. She could last at her own range creeps. And you could get multiple points of Lucent Beam and justify it because it gave you more damage and you could use it in the laning stage. And because the other skill was Moonglaives, right? You didn't really need that much Moonglaives early. And now you just needed like Moonglaives and stats and you're good to go. And the Lunar Orbit didn't scale well at all. So pro players would just get like 1 point of it and get stats. So she had more raw stats because she was getting attributes. She was able to level Eclipse because she had more Lucent Beam points. So like you kind of just got everything on the hero for the first time in years. Which is one of the reasons that Luna was a popular carry at TI. Good laning stage, can kill people with Eclipse. Yeah, ranged hero. All that stuff. Marcy Sidekick, bonus base attack damage decreased by 2% early and 5% late. And ally bonus radius has been decreased. So nerfing one of Marcy's facets. Probably your hero's probably still fine, but it's going to hurt just a tiny bit. Maybe they're just trying to take a little bit of lifesteal out of the game or something. Mars talent spear of Mars stun decreased from 0.6 to 0.4. So a little bit harder to chain stun with the hero. Arena blood cooldown would be your other facet. What's the stun duration? Oh, it's 2.2 at level 4. Okay, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. You could stun somebody for 2.8 seconds. That's like an insane stun duration, actually, compared to most heroes in the game. It is a 20 talent, though, but it does kind of feel bad for your 20 talent to get a 0.4 second stun duration, but considering you can stun 2 heroes with that with Shard, it's kind of really good still. Absorbing damage with Mana Shield now disables Blink Dagger. Okay, so they nerfed the what's it called? The bubble, the safety bubble. They nerfed the safety bubble Blink Dagger build on Medusa, where it would basically give you damage block for the little damage that you did take to your hero, and as a result, you could use Blink Dagger pretty much all the time. So they just removed it from the game, which is probably fair. It was not super used by pro players, but it was definitely very good. Yeah, it didn't disable Blink just because you had a 100 HP barrier. So you could, if you had that tier 1 neutral item, you could just blink whenever you wanted to. Solar Flare is going to get a nerf because Murano was quite good at TI. It was played a little bit as a carry, but more so as a support. And it was kind of just busted because it just made your team do so much damage. It was like a crazy good steroid. So let's see what they do. No longer increases daytime vision. Okay. Duration decreased by 2 seconds, and then the max attack speed and damage has been decreased by 10 at all levels. Not that much of a nerf, but a small nerf. You know, it's going to make a small damage decrease for... And keep in mind the allies get half of that bonus. So it's still decent for your allies. They're still getting 35 attack speed and damage at level 1 instead of 40. It's going to matter a little bit more for Mirana. So it'll be a little harder for Miranas to be hard carries or from the 4 position, which players like Soxa did do. He was buying a lot of damage items. A couple other players did this as well. They would buy more right click than utility. So it's going to feel slightly less good to go for that build. And then Ag Shard no longer allows to hit the same enemy unit by multiple secondary Starstorms in a single cast. This is one thing that you could do with Mirana against heroes like Brood. Because basically the way it works is that when your Starstorm, the one that's supposed to come from the sky, they added a buff like years ago. Because sometimes you would use it and you would kill the guy in front of you with the first wave. So the second one would be wasted. So what that did is it started targeting new people that were alive. Which was fine because somebody should get hit with that double hit, right? But what the leap would do is that when you'd hit everybody and they would all get hit by that secondary Starstorm, if they died on the first wave, the second wave had to go somewhere. So if you had like 20 second waves looking for a target, sometimes there's only one hero left and that hero would get hit by 20 second Starstorm nukes. So against Broods were getting one shot because the leap into Starstorm was killing their spiders with the first wave. Then the second wave is saying, who am I going to hit? Here's a Brood with 2,000 HP. And they would get one shot. So they removed that because it was kind of cheesy. Math-wise, it did make sense. But one-shotting Broods, it was just kind of a little unfair. So Mirana going to be squishy without double bracers. That's true. Mirana is a squishy hero. She's reliant on leap to be survivable. Monkey King was also decently popular. A lot of teams played him in the mid lane to like lane dominate and then pressure the map really effectively. Like right after the lanes were over, like 6 minutes on, they would play for like the Wisdom Rune with this like level 7 Monkey King, and it was just really hard to mess with. They're actually going to increase his base strength by 1, and I didn't even knew what a second facet was. Here's the one that everybody gets. Simian Stride. The health threshold for jumping no cooldown is now 95% health. So before, it used to be 100%. Then they reduced it to 90 because 100 was kind of insane because sometimes you take a little bit of damage. So now it has to be 95. So if your Monkey King is not full HP, basically, or close to full HP, he can't jump from tree to tree constantly. So he's going to be a little bit less oppressive now when he's missing a little bit of HP. So slightly limited. So very important to nuke the monkey at least once if he's chasing you so that he can't jump as quickly and find like the perfect initiation moment. And then this other one, Wukong soldiers last longer, do not disperse unless he spends more than 4 seconds outside the arena. Ah, that's right. You could put your ulti down and you could disengage. Also, it would make your ags a little bit better. But everybody goes Simian Stride for pressure. More to pierce the veil, duration increase. This is probably fair. 6 seconds was kind of low. And because a lot of times what would happen is like you would pop your ulti and then they would like stun you one time. And then by the time you come out, you only have like a couple seconds left of your ultimate remaining. So this just seems fair to me. Makes her a little bit better, stronger earlier. Naga Siren was one of the other top banned and picked heroes at the tournament. Mostly banned. Almost always got banned. Just because Deluge got buffed enough where it was an effective ability. The mana cost is going to be increased. And then her ultimate was just kind of broken because it base healed people. And if you bought Shard, it healed them even better. So it's Naga is just, ever since like TI3, it was just a really annoying support to play against because you had to find where the Naga was, because if you initiated on Naga's teammates, she would just song and the fight would be over, pretty much. So they're just nerfing the heal that's built in without the shard. So the hero is going to be more shard reliant than you were before. A 2 to 4% HP heal is not really that much. It lasts 7 seconds. So before it was 7 times 6, which is 42% of their max HP. Now at level 4 or at level 3, it's only healing 28% of their max HP, assuming the whole duration goes, which is not insignificant, but this is a good place to start to nerf Naga Siren and make her less impactful later, which is where she's probably more problematic, but she's still going to be good. But the mana cost increase is definitely going to hurt her. 20 extra mana every time you use this on a 7-second cooldown is kind of a big deal. It's not necessarily over. I bet it's still viable. It's just going to be a little bit harder to make it valuable and viable. Arcane Boots is worse mana regen. Deluge is higher mana cost. Like, these things will add up for sure. But it's probably still playable. And this is kind of how the game should be, right? It shouldn't be like every single game it makes sense to pick Naga Siren because it's far and away the best hero in the game. There should be circumstances where it's like Naga support can be played, and it can be really good if your opponents have Doom and all these team fight heroes so that you can reset the fight. If they don't have a lot of team fight heroes and you reset the fight, then it's kind of like, okay, well, you reset a bad situation, but like we don't necessarily have a better window to win, you know? And then picking Naga all the time isn't good. So small nerfs like this that still make the playstyle viable but situational is just better for the health of the game. Because I believe Naga was the most banned hero of the tournament. And it was just way too good. Nature's Prophet was also very good at TI. Played as carry, played as mid. Not as much played as support. The Ironwood Treant Facet was the only one that people played. The Treant damage is basically unkillable. The damage early on is being decreased by about 6 at all levels, and it's the same later. So as you level up, it's the same, which is fine, because later on it should be. And the movement speed is also nerfed. It was 350 movement speed at level 1. It was just fast. It did a moderate amount of damage, and it was basically unkillable, because it had fortified HP. So it would only die to towers, basically. Lowering the movement speed is good. It's going to harass heroes less. It's going to be... it's going to do less damage because it's slower, and it also does less damage because it does less damage. So last sitting against the Nature's Prophet is also going to be more fair. All valid stuff. Ghost Shroud, movement slow, buffed at level 1. It's going to make it a much better level 1 skill, which is usually where it is for a lot of the game, because you usually get 1 point in this to amplify some of your heals early on and to limit the right-click damage you're taking in those periods. So giving it the 16% movement slow is helpful. That's about boots in terms of slow. 10% before is about 300. 16% is about 45 to 50. So you're now going to slow people's movement speed by 50 for 3 seconds. You could look at it as like 150 movement wasted for 3 seconds, right? Yeah, because you're slowing the movement speed by 50 for 3 seconds. So yeah, it's like 150 movement anti-force staff, kind of, arguably. Reaper Scythe cooldown is also decreased by 10 seconds. Yeah, Necrophos is not in the best place right now. There's just like better heroes. A lot of range cores. It's fine, just little buffs, not that much. Omni Knight, one of the other best heroes of the patch. There was a lot. It felt like there was a lot of tier 1 heroes at this TI. Like, it genuinely felt like there was like 10 to 12 like really strong heroes, and Omni was one of them. They buffed his repel a little bit too much. They just made it BKB, which was needed, but it became a little bit too good. Base movement speed decreased by 5. Base strength decreased by 1. Hero was great with bracers, great with Solar Crest. The healing hammer facet got nerfed, the other one did not. This is the healing. Damage is healing, so when you deal damage with your skills, you would heal back 25% of that damage additionally. So it's quite good for keeping your HP up. Purify mana cost is going up. Basically at all levels is going to hurt him for sure, especially with Arcane Boots getting nerfed. And Repel mana cost also going up early especially. So definitely a little costly. His mana costs will bother him. Might be justified in having to fit in like an extra Null Talisman or something like that, maybe, in the laning stage. Or you're going to have to be more careful how you use your spells. It'll be less simply spam them when there's a good opportunity, and more like maybe I have to save them kind of a thing. Buff to Thunderbolt Facet for Pangolier. This is the one that people don't get, by the way. Everyone gets the double jump one because it gives you more damage, up to 40% for the double jump, and yeah, increases your max barrier as well. So basically it just makes your shield crash way better. Thunderbolt, however, is going to make your Rolling Thunder last longer. This lasts for 10 seconds. Thunderbolt is going to... Oh, I'm sorry. Duration decreased, but your movement and turn speed is increased. Roll speed is 550. With Thunderbolt, it is 665. Does it say what the turn speed is? It doesn't, but it should be easier to crash people. So with the duration going up, this means that instead of the duration being... It went from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Now it's 10 to 9. So this might actually become viable because it's about the same duration, and it's easier to hit people, and you go faster. So you should be able to chain Thunder, Rolling Thunder a little bit more now. The downside is that the shield crash talent is just way better in laning stage, and most pros prioritize what's going to be good in the lane because it's just better. You're going to get more last hits. You're going to have a higher chance of killing your opponent. You're going to have a lower chance of dying, and that usually impacts more than just having a stronger level 6. But at least this is an option that people could get if they want to do it. Could make Rolling Thunder a little bit better. Phantom Lancer, Illusory Armaments. I forgot about this hero, actually. I played him a little bit with this innate, and it was kind of fun. The innate was fun. It was the one where you could buy percentage-based items. Let's see what it says. Effects that percentagely change the base damage now also affect base damage bonus provided by Illusory Armaments. All right, they really want you to buy Vlad's on this hero, guys. Bonus to base damage for illusions increased again. All right, Vlad's PL, guys. It's Vlad's PL. Effects that percentually change the base damage now also affect base damage bonus provided by this. Okay, so Vlad's is better. Vlad's and Venge. Vengeful Spirit with the Vlad's, PL is going to do way more damage. So what was happening before, your base damage went up by green items. So like if you bought a Divine Rapier before, basically Vlad's Divine Rapier is busted on this hero. Because Divine Rapier is going to give you... Oh, it's just built in, right? Because what's happening is if you buy green items, green damage items on this hero, it will increase your base damage. And the reason they did this at a certain percentage, and the reason they did this was so that your illusions would become better if I bought demon edges. So it's increasing my base damage.
Prepare for battle.
I'm getting 40 damage. Is that true? Oh, that's right. To illusions, it's different. So green items on my hero are 100%. Green items on my illusions are 70%. So if I buy green items, this makes my hero quite good. And this means that if I have something like a Vlad's, I made this item really high, and now I can buy an item like Vlad's, and it should give me a lot more damage. Why does it only give me 10 damage? I feel like this is a bug. What's going on? What's going on?
Yes.
Agi is base damage, but it's different on this hero. Items, abilities, and auras that grant bonus damage instead grant base damage. If there's base damage increase and they just buffed it so that effects that percentagely change the base damage now also affect base damage bonus. This is worded in a way that it's like some maybe either this is wrong or the way that this mechanically works is very specific in a way that I'm not aware of. I mean, you guys are explaining how base stats work, and I'm aware, but this is weird and different. Because the way that it's worded is such that it sounds like this should be increasing my damage by more, the Vlad's. My understanding was that my Vlad's would increase this 257 by 18%. 257, let's see how much this... So this only gave me 5 damage. So the way that it's working right now is these auras are only working based on my actual base damage, which would be in my agility, which is not very high, right? I've only got about 50 base damage. If I take all these items off, my damage is like 50. And that's why the Vlad's is not working very good either. I'm getting 6 damage here, basically, and this is going to give me 10 damage, because it's about 20% of 60. And then getting these, every single one is going to upgrade my damage by 40. So this doesn't work the way, Vlad's doesn't work the way I thought it did. Which is why this text is confusing to me, because I would argue that this is an item that increases my damage percentually by a percent. Percentually change the base damage to now also affect base damage bonuses provided by illusory armaments. I just don't know what this is supposed to apply to. The first sentence is confusing. Bonus to base damage for illusions. So I thought that getting Avenge and a Vlad's would be good because all the items you buy are more valuable, but I'm not sure. You guys, the reason you guys are confused is because you think that I'm confused. Which I am confused about something. You see, like, it's... His innate means that it's broken on this hero, right? It's not supposed to work the way that it works for every other hero. Yes, I know that Vlad's only affects attributes. Vlad's in the past for almost all heroes would only affect these. So Vlad's is just way better if you have a lot of agility, right? Look, it's giving me 32 damage, which makes sense because I have all this agility to increase the damage. But the way they changed his innate a patch or two ago is that I can now buy, like, watch when I pick up the demon edges. What's supposed to be happening is I'm supposed to get 72 plus 40. But look at that. Look at it. It's increasing my primary one. They changed this so that you could buy plus damage items on this hero, which still make your illusions better. I thought that would also mean that percentage-based items like Vlad's offering would become effectively busted on this hero because you could buy... I thought that you'd be able to buy Divine Rapier on this hero to get your damage really high and then use Vlad's to make it higher. In reality, it's only increasing it by 10 damage. So this patch change is confusing to me. I thought it was going to work like this already, but it apparently doesn't. Maybe it'd be way too good. It probably would be way too good because between just a Vlad's and a Divine Rapier, you would get like insane value for your dollars. So Vlad's is not good on this hero. Divine Rapier is still good on your hero because it's going to make your illusions really strong. You're getting 70% of the value towards your illusions with Divine Rapier. But I still think like Diffusal and stuff is good. Like you could still buy Nullifier on this hero. Basically all of these damage items that you used to not be able to buy in this hero, you can actually buy in this hero. It's not a big deal. Daedalus on PL, it's good. You won't get a chance to crit on your illusions, which is a bit of a bummer, but until the... Oh, the crit talent's gone. They did the armaments damage. So Daedalus is a little bit weaker, but you could buy like a Deso on your hero, for example. This wouldn't be bad. As long as you're attacking them occasionally with your main hero, then this bonus damage would also apply to your illusions.
Your middle tower is under attack.
So a Deso PL, it's actually viable, most likely. But again, the downside is that you're probably the only one. My illusions would not apply the Deso. See, no Deso. Whereas if I hit him,
Your middle tower is under attack.
but like you could go like Deso AC or something if you really wanted to. It's goofy. AC is probably just bad, but Diffusal is still good on the hero, yes, because your illusions are going to be mana draining. It's still good. All right. Anyways, you think it's more about Anchor Smash applying properly? Yeah, I just don't know what this first sentence is applying to. It's confusing. It doesn't read the way that I assumed that it would work, and I don't know what it's supposed to imply. Anchor Smash and Fade Bolt. Ah. Oh, okay. So enemy effects is what I wish it would said. If it was like enemy effects like Fade Bolt and Anchor Smash now also affect... Okay, so basically Fade Bolt and Anchor Smash work better against this hero than they did before. Is what it means. Okay.
They say it can be done. That is why I'm here.
Alright, good to know. So Venge and Vlad's not good on the hero. So basically a tiny... It's actually... This is like a small nerf. A very situational nerf. And this is a buff. So it's about the same. Here's about the same. Puckish base health restored decreased by 5, as did the mana regen. Players were abusing this too effectively. They were basically walking into tower, waiting until they tower attack twice, and then they'd use phase shift, and they would heal like 70 HP. And they did this consistently through the laning stage. So Puck needed to get nerfed a little bit for his innate, because pro players were abusing it a lot, and Puck had a pretty good win rate. It wasn't super picked, but it was picked like a healthy amount of times. And then Dream Coil duration is nerfed. So 5 seconds actually gives you a slightly better decision of should I break the coil or not. So, seems fair. Pugna Siphoning War, damage to mana increased by 10%. Wow. This, people stopped getting this one from what I saw because they wanted the spell damage from the Towers Dying one, but this just seems so good. It's just so much damage to mana. Oh, I see. That was the damage to mana, not damage to HP. This is the... So when people cast spells in it with this facet, the damage that the ward does will heal you, and it will also give you mana. They only buffed the give you mana part. They didn't buff the give you health. The give you health part was way too good. I think it's already too good at 30%. But the fact that it gives you more mana, I think that's fine. It's kind of a cool idea, a way to increase your mana pool. Yeah, interesting. I think Pugna is a cool hero, but I doubt he's that good right now. I'll add him to the list because I kind of want to. I haven't tried the spell damage facet yet. Ricky Cloak and Dagger toggling items no longer breaks invisibility. This was the case for a while with like power treads and stuff, but they must have switched it or something, or maybe this is just fixing bugs. I'm not sure. Ringmaster, the best hero of the patch. He had the highest win rate on Dota 2 Pro Tracker. He's just good. Just a better hero than all the heroes, so he's going to have to get nerfs here. Base strength decreased by 2. Strength gain decreased. He was just too survivable. Tame the Beast cast range is the same at all levels, so you can't cast it from as far. Escape Act can now be dispelled, so it is now bad against a lot of things. Bad against Yule's Scepter. Bad against Shadow Demon. Bad against Oracle, for example. Bad against Nullifier. It just can't be used anymore, so it's no longer just like a free save. Wheel of Wonder radius is decreased. Automatic explosion time decreased as well. So if it doesn't trigger effectively, it is more likely to blow up on top of your opponents, which is kind of good. You can't target them with Yules. You can't. It's still untargetable. Oh, okay. Okay, so Yule's not the case, and some of the other stuff not so much either. Nully can't hit untargetable people anyways. I mean, if you had Nullifier on somebody already, though, and then Escape Act gets casted on them, then it would be removed. So Nullifier is still going to be good against it. Brewmaster, AoB Dispel. But not the most significant nerfs. Tame the Beast cast range is important because this means that they have to be closer to their opponents to actually cast the ability. The strength gain is going to matter. This is like 44 less HP at level 1. And less strength gain of 0.3 is a lot. 2.4 strength gain is a lot. So, Wheel of Wonder a little bit harder to use. It's still probably going to be a good hero, but not quite as high. Sand King Dust Facet was the only one people used. Sand King was very popular at TI, one of the best heroes. Radius is nerfed at all levels. The duration is decreased as well. So your uptime is still close to 100%, but it's just not going to be as available if you, I don't know, teleport to a different lane or if it's delayed and not caught up to you yet. Is that true? It's just, you're going to have to cast it more often when jungling is the real answer. Because you use it a lot to like push creep waves and go jungle. You're going to have to spend more mana to keep that going now. Sandstorm, damage per second is nerfed by a little bit. This is probably still going to be good, but it's going to affect your farm speed a little bit. And you're going to have to spend a little bit more time and money and items on mana regen. And the radius being smaller means that your Bloodstone's going to feel less good. All right, here's the nerf to Shadow Demon, which doesn't feel like a lot to me. Health loss decreased from Disseminate by 5%. Okay, it does for the heal as well. All right, good to know. So this is for the heal as well. You don't give your allies 20% heal anymore. And you don't remove 20% of your opponent's health. It's still going to be a good spell, but the fact that it's 15 instead of 20 is going to make a difference for sure. So if you use Promulgate's Disseminate and a Solar Crest on somebody, Solar Crest is like 50 less, and this is going to be 5% less, so it's just less ability to pump heals into somebody. I would argue that this hero is still going to be very good in the patch. This is not going to be significant of enough nerf. Vision radius decrease for Shadow Poison, not that big of a deal. The hero is still going to be good for sure. Shadow Shaman Foul Play, invulnerability duration increased. I think this needed to kind of happen because it felt a little bit too easy for you to die after it would proc. Players kind of got used to it quick in my experience, and I would have maybe liked them to buff Massive Serpent Ward again in some way, but I guess you get Foul Play no matter what, so this is just like across the board buff. Was the oops. Oh, that's right, you could turn an ally into a flock for a dispel. Massive Serpent Ward is good and bad. It's like it makes it so that you can siege a tower easier when the tower's attacking it. Your enemy heroes are basically taking 100% damage the whole time, and they might not commit to it effectively. Like, I've gotten some good cheesy kills, but I just feel like losing the ward trap is kind of problematic, among other things. So I'm not Shadow Shaman's kind of a weird place, but still kind of good. Snapfire getting nerfed on Scatterblast. This cast range is just wild, dude. The fact that you could hit somebody with this at 1400 range was like a little too good. It just felt good. Like 650 range or longer, you do more damage. Like, it's like amazing. Mortimer's Kisses debuff talent is buffed, the ones that people don't get, and the 25 talent that Kisses launch damage talent also buffed, the one that people don't get, because most people go a little shredder as they transition, but there's a lot of Mortimer's Kisses talents, guys. The 25 damage per second at 10, and right now it does 60 damage per second, so you could put up to 85 per second damage being dealt. It's a pretty big difference. 25 out of 60. That's like 50% more damage from the burn over time at level 1 Mortimer's Kisses. Like, that's just when people are like running through it on the ground. That can't be bad. Scatterblast is obviously really good, but just dealing more damage with your ultimate, not that bad. And your Kisses impact damage, the 20 talent, plus 60. So that means you're doing 420 damage. Weed number damage per glob that it hits. It's kind of an insane amount of damage. Obviously there's like BKBs and stuff at level 20, but especially if you get the plus 8 Mortimer's Kisses, like legitimately, you'd almost certainly go the full bore so you could just stay far away. But if we just level up to max basically and get all these, like, this is going to be a lot of damage, especially if I'm staying far away from my opponents, you know? Like, that's 6,000 damage over 5.5 seconds. Artillery on the move. It's kind of a lot. Like, really says, like, hey, maybe I should buy a Kaya on this hero because I can do 600 more damage, you know? Like, it's kind of a lot how much damage that is. 25% movement slow. I don't know. I kind of want to play this hero and, like, think more about Mortimer's Kisses, honestly. All right. Sniper. One of the best heroes of the patch of the tournament. He dominated in terms of pick rates at the start of the game because of how good Scattershot was, because Shrapnel just did a lot of damage. But he actually had a terrible win rate as a support. It really did not do good. His win rate was like 20% or something like that. It was not good. But what it did do is it won the early game very effectively, and then it kind of transitioned not so good, and it didn't feel as effective. And then towards the end of the tournament, everyone just picked Sniper mid, and they were like, oh, this is just totally fine. It's like a 50% win rate. It's good. Some people got Scattershot. Some people got the other one. But both were effective. I saw some players get like easy solo kills in mid with Scattershot. I think against Monkey Kings or something. So it getting nerfed, I think, is fine. Level 1 being weaker, totally fine. Level 2 being about the same, totally fine. I'm into this change. It's still going to be good, but it's not going to be nearly as oppressive. The fact that you can't do 360 damage at level 1 anymore is just fair. It's still like a decent amount, but it's not going to be nearly as good. Headshot slow duration is going to scale as well, which frankly is not a huge deal. People usually max this out pretty fast. But the important thing is that popping take aim and headshotting somebody like 4 times in the laning stage is going to be harder. If people are less out of position, they're more likely to get escape, to get out of there, because they're not slowed as much. So that's what you're going to feel in the laning stage. You're not going to be able to get as many headshot hits in. So not the worst nerf to Sniper if you play the other facet. If you play this facet, it's weaker, certainly. Because at level 4 and onwards is where the ability gets less good. So I think we'll probably see this facet kind of die off. And we're going to see Sniper played the same way, but he's going to win mid a little bit less. And because he's harassing people less because of the slow duration, which also is attack speed, by the way. It's a big deal. Fighting Sniper to the death is going to be harder, pretty much. Or it's going to be easier for people fighting Sniper. So this is probably going to be noticeable. Sniper should be able to get less kills, and he should die a little bit more often than before. Techie's Proxy Mine charge restore cooldown is down to 15 at all levels. This is kind of a big deal because of the 10 talent, the -3. So this means the second that you hit level 10, you're down to a 12-second cooldown instead of a 16-second cooldown. So if you want to be slacks and put mines all over the map, it's just better. With that said, techies pretty much didn't get touched at TI. Maybe got picked once or twice. Nobody gets squeeze scope unless you're like messing around in a pub and you want to get this like attack range thing. I've seen some pros go secret sauce. Spoon stash is also nerfed because of the nerf to bracers and nulls and stuff. So I don't know. Techies is probably still rough right now, is my assumption. With that said, Ironwood branches are still good. Circlets are still going to be good. You don't have to get bracers and null talismans and stuff. They're kind of expensive slightly. Like, you could probably just fill your backpack with circlets and be decently happy on the hero, is my guess. If you want to enter fights with 3 charges of proxy mine, that speeds it up. Yeah, it does. It certainly does. But yeah, I don't think about that much when I play techies, but I probably should.
They call me Squee.
They call me Spleen.
They don't know I'm here. Who said that?
I don't know. I like this hero. When I started playing him lately, it definitely feels worse, but I generally just do good in the laning stage. I think most pro players do get like 1 reactive taser in the laning stage lately. Can you cast this on the allies anymore or no? I don't think you can, but you can activate when it explodes. So if somebody attacks you and gets disarmed, and then you use it and you pop it afterwards to disarm somebody for like 5 seconds, it's kind of a big deal in these fights to the death. So you can do that, right? Let me just check it really quick, because techies sounds kind of fun to play.
If you want explosions,
Except off we go. Onward.
Yeah, and then I can blow it up again. Yep. So yeah, you can get 2 disarms basically, which is a big deal. This is why getting it more in the laning stage is arguably worthwhile. Extra points of blast off are good because it does do more damage and it lowers your cooldown a little bit, but I think what I've seen from techies is they go like a 4-1-1 build or like a 3-1-3 build or something. Sticky Bomb's just like a weaker harass skill, unfortunately, than it used to be. Is one of the things that's hurting the hero, and your attack range is way weaker. It used to be like 700, now it's only 600, so and your base damage is pretty bad. So I don't know, let's do a level 1 item build.
I am Squee.
I'm Spleen.
Shard for that? Oh yeah, to cast on allies, yeah. So this is probably what you should be doing. That was 150.
Prepare for battle.
140, 240. Like, you should probably have something like this if you can afford it. I don't know if that's too much money. It looks expensive. 155, 205, 255, 305, 355, 405, 450. No, you can afford this. So this would be your starting item build, basically, with this one. Ironwood branches, circlet, a sentry ward, and maybe you bring out like another tango and another ironwood branch or something. Maybe that's overkill, but
We're going.
is Soul Ring bad? I don't think you need Soul Ring on this hero at all. It's not good. You don't need that much mana on this hero because you don't need to. You used to have 2 ways to plant mines. You had like way more mana costs. Like, you can still plant proxy mines a lot, but you should probably just get other mana regen. This says Soul Ring. I don't know about that. I feel like that's overkill. But maybe pro players are buying Soul Ring when they play the hero. But I just don't. It's going to be more necessary because Arcane Boots is worse. But I don't know. Why so many irons? Because irons are very efficient. It gives you 3 attributes for 50 gold. That's very, very little gold per attribute that you're spending. And because of Spoon's stash, it gives me extra item slots. So it makes sense to fill them because I'm a universal hero. Because every Ironwood branch increases my damage by 2. So if I want, I mean, look how much HP I have. I have 714 HP. I have 5.7 armor, which is a lot. My base damage is 60 to 62, which is really high. And I have 471 mana. Because I have +8 to all attributes. So I attack faster, I have more damage, I have more armor, I have more mana, I have more mana regen. Like, look at my HP and mana regen. I've got 3.7, right? If I drop all this stuff on the ground, I have 2.9. So all these gives me 0.8 HP per second. It gives me, I think, 0.5 mana per second. something like that. Oop, missed one. So it's equivalent to having like 2 mangoes all the time, having all these attributes in my inventory. I just have 2 mangoes basically in my inventory at all points. And I have the HP. Ironwood branches are just efficient. Keeping stuff in your stack counts only on this character because of this facet. I can use items in my backpack as if they're in my inventory.
Sure.
So for this hero, it's even better to have an abundance of ironwood branches because they just sit in my inventory. All these can be used. See? That's how you make this fast a little bit better. It just makes your early game better and makes your game transition a little better, arguably. But you need like really efficient items. There was probably some value actually in the previous patch to go like 9 bracers. It probably was funny to go like 8 bracers on this hero with the spoon stash, because then you just have like probably 3,000 health. But it's kind of gone now. Anyways. Or you can get this, more max HP as bonus damage, or you can get this one, attack range and projectile speed. But you shouldn't be buying damage items. This hero's probably still bad, but anyways, things to keep in mind. Tidehunter, unpicked, well, basically not picked or played much at TI, if at all. Blubber, that's his Kraken Shell, basically. Removes negative stats effects if he takes more than 450 damage. It's buffed by 50. Removes most buffs, even if they're generally not purgeable. Okay. Ravage damage is up by 25. So the tiniest buffs. Slightly more Ravage damage. Woo! And slightly more Blubber procking, but probably about the same heroes. I mean, this is to make Rubik not an overwhelming counter to Tide. Now Tide innate Blubber can dispel Ravage since the damage increase passes 450 damage. And threshold reliably, including Tide magic resistance and Rubik magic. I do not agree. I mean, like, maybe you're right that, like, him using Ravage now is going to remove, like, he's going to dispel the enemy Ravage, but, like, it's not like it's a fun coincidence, but it's not like my Tide game changes massively if I get Ravaged by a enemy Rubik, you know? I could just not let him steal Ravage, you know? My analysis on Thompson's Invoker last TI is blowing up on YouTube. Why, did somebody else steal it? Is that what you're saying? Somebody like made a YouTube video out of what I did? Is that what's happening? Can you link it for me, please? I'm not going to DMCA it or whatever. I'm just curious. His Invoker was really good. He dumpstered Mallory in this one game by forcing him to TP multiple times. All right, Timber saw base strength decreased by 1. Timber was picked, but not like the most ubiquitous hero. Trim Protector, Nature's Guise, movement speed bonus decreased by 2%, a little bit weaker. Leech Seed was too good with the facet that does AoE heal. Now heals creeps for 50% effectiveness, yeah. The Leech Seed facet was just too good because it was just like you put it on the ground and it heals everybody on your team. So not surprised to see the hero get nerfed there. Troll Talent, Whirling Axe's debuff duration increased by 0.5. This hero got picked a little bit as some alternate carries, but it wasn't the most effective. The 10 talent debuff, 2.5 seconds. How much does it do?
I'm coming for you.
So it'd be up to 5.5 seconds instead of 3. It's hard to pass up 25 movement speed, though. 25 movement speed at level 10 is like wild how good that is. That really increases your farm speed across the map. Berserker's Rage armor increased by 1. Huh. Okay. Here's a really big facet for TI was Drinking Buddies. The reason Drinking Buddies wasn't very good the previous patch was because you lost the attack speed slow of nearby enemies, and now that's just Tusk's innate. So he gets that with Drinking Buddies, and then Drinking Buddies is just good because you can like yoink yourself to your allies. And yeah. Alt cast behavior now is 50% of the base's spellcast range. They buffed Tag Team because nobody got it. The bonus movement speed is scaling now based on the level. People do max this out first, but it's going to make it a little bit weaker early game. Let's see how this works. I don't remember exactly how it functions, so I want to like make sure.
The tusk is always ready for a fight. Onward.
So that pulls you there.
Yes.
It lowers the cast range to only pull Tusk towards his ally. Okay. So the two probably were that this would pull you halfway to each other. The alt cast would be that you pull yourself to him. Which usually you would want to do the alt cast. It was just better. Because you don't want to fuck up what they're doing. Because if they're like trying to kill some hero over here, and I did this, it's bad. Because now my hero is farther away from them. So this cast range is still really high. But the alt one that pulls me to them, which doesn't disrupt them, is now shorter cast range. So I have to be closer to my ally to give him the buff now. So now if this guy gets stunned, and I want to save them to do a snowball. Oops. Let's do... I have to be closer now to do this.
You betcha.
I have to be quite a bit closer now. Like, look at the difference. I assume I could still do it this way, but... This is still fine. But it's kind of a good way to nerf it. Because it was probably too easy to do this. You would just alt cast it, you would get in there, and you snowball your ally, no negatives. Now there has to be like some negatives. Now you have to worry about messing up your carry's positioning, kind of a thing. You can save through stun without alt cast. Yeah, you can. It was just too good. This means Tusk only moves 450 instead of alt cast 900. Yes, that's also true. So he has to be closer, basically, to do the safer save. You can still do the regular one if you want, but it's going to pull your carry a little bit out of position, which might be bad. It's a small nerf. It kind of. It's not that big of a deal to use the regular one, pretty much. The other good point that if you think about it is like, I wish I didn't close it.
It's been a while since I came
Before,
this
the
far
alt cast
south.
would pull my hero 900 units. It'd get me 900 units closer. Now it's only ever going to pull me 450 units closer. So hypothetically, if I wanted to initiate as well, this I can never get to here anymore. The most I can ever get is here. Like the cast range is always going to be half of what this max range is, which is probably about 600. So it's only ever going to move me like 300 units now. Right? So now I have two options. I can alt cast this guy to go 300 units. Or I can regular cast this guy to go 300 units. But before, what I could do is I could alt cast to go all the way over here. I could go probably 600 units to get all the way over here. So now I can never move my hero as much for free. Which before you could. It was kind of like a blink dagger in some ways. It's like, oh, my ally is killing them. Well, I'm just going to press this on him, and then I would teleport all the way to here and get in there. So this is offensively a weaker ability by far now. I can't catch up to my ally as quickly. If I'm saving somebody with a snowball, it is still about as good, basically. Slightly weaker, but about as good. But offensively, it is way worse. Because I can't go nearly as far. I have to use like this. Or I have to use... Or I have to use this one. It could arguably make cast range much better. Because it's going to make this better now. Because now I can zip farther. So cast range is even better on Tusk than it was before. And obviously cast range is still good because it would allow me to like... Does it increase your snowball cast range actually? Or grab range? I actually don't know.
A good warm-up.
Seems about the same to me. I don't know. Anyways. Drinking Buddies is defensive support, tag team is aggro laner. I mean, both are aggro, which is part of the reason it was good. But I would say they're still good. The difference is that tag team will slow people that you're hitting, and Drinking Buddies will give movement speed to your teammate. And range carries, Drinking Buddies is just better, basically, in almost all cases. Because my ranged carry is going to run faster, which sometimes they lack, and they're going to do damage no matter what hero they're attacking for that 6 seconds. Whereas tag team is they only take bonus damage. Only the guys near me are the ones that take bonus damage. So Drinking Buddies is probably still better, especially because it makes Snowball easier to use. But it needed some nerfs because nobody touched tag team once the tournament started. All right, Underlord, Abyssal Horde. This is the facet. Everybody goes on Underlord because it's just better. The warrior damage was just a lot. The way some pros explained it to me is that sometimes the little warriors die in the fight and you don't notice it because it's like they die to an AoE and they just take a bunch of damage that they didn't account for. So the last will damage was the most obvious thing to nerf. The warrior damage is also going to be nerfed by a little bit. Buffed early, nerfed mid, nerfed late. But the bonus damage is going to be weaker. Atrophy Aura Duration also nerfed, so pretty small. Venge Nether Swap cooldown is decreased by a tiny bit, make it a little bit better earlier. Noxious Plague minimum movement slow increase. What is the minimum? What does that mean? Does that mean no matter what, it will always slow people? Is that what that means? Because this wasn't one of the stats before. Min slow start at 0 and scale to 50. Oh, I see. It says max slow is 50. Okay. So that means when I use it, it probably grows, I assume.
Taste my venom.
It probably grows as a slow over time or something. And this just means that it slows more early. Or the max slow is... Okay. It's high early. And as it goes lower... It seemed pretty consistent, didn't it? Works like dispersion. Scales with distance. Based on their distance to the target. Okay, that's why it felt the same.
As you say. A touch of venom. Blink dagger.
I don't get how it works. Plague slows the target and nearby enemies based on their distance to the target. Oh, so it'd be enemies near him. When the target dies or the debuff expires. Okay, so it's not about... His slow is probably the same. It's enemies near him, yeah.
And from there,
Yes.
pretend it's safe. The time has come.
With vim and venom.
See, this guy's faster than the one right here.
Quick as
And then these ones are together. Oh, okay. This makes the first skill so much better. Look how much slow this is. The other facet is by far the most popular right now because of how fast you can farm with all the plague wards. But like this is actually really, really good AoE slow. Because it is impact damage for spreads. Yeah, there's no impact damage on the other ones, but like they're still taking max percentage damage and they are still being slowed by up to 50% if they're pretty close to each other. So I didn't know how the slow worked at all. I had no idea. I was just like, oh, the guy ulti on gets slowed, whatever, you know. But if people are just near that guy, they are slowed by up to 50%, and now the minimum is 15. So that's good to know. So that means if they are... I don't know what the radius is. Debuff radius 800. So if they're just within 800 units of the guy that gets ultied, they will be slowed by 15%. So I would say that's a huge buff. Very cool way to buff the first facet. Really, really cool way. It's still going to make Plague Carrier good too because your ulti still lasts for 5 seconds. So whoever you ulti, enemies near him are going to be slowed. But Patient Zero is significantly better now because we're talking a minimum 15% slow, which is like 50 movement speed for any enemy within 100 units of somebody that's ultied. And this ulti does trigger a lot of times. It spreads back, that kind of a thing, right? So I would say a really nice buff for Veno who wants to slow people. Visage, popular hero at TI. Liquid used him to win the tournament. Some other teams played with him too, but Liquid did the best with it. Death Toll Soul Assumption no longer provides extra gold if the target dies before the projectile reaches them. So this skill was just like too good. Basically, if you had casted Soul Assumption on somebody that died while it was flying, you would get the bonus gold. If you cast it on somebody and they would die within a couple seconds, within 3 seconds of being hit by Soul Assumptions, you would get the extra gold. If you would cast Soul Assumption, it would kill somebody, you would get the extra gold. So they removed one of those options. You cast Soul Assumption as somebody is about to die, but they die before a Soul Assumption hits. So you will get slightly less gold from Death Toll, but it will still be good. Recalling is now canceled if familiars are in stone form. Okay, that's fair. You can do that all facets. I didn't know that. I thought it was just... This says you can also recall as familiars. Oh, it says can also recall as familiars. It's just part of Death Toll. This facet is just so bad. They did this with a couple facets where they're like, well, we'll just add a third facet instead of taking away or changing one of the other ones. And now it's like, who's ever going to take this one? Ooh, AoE Grave Chill. Ooh, so good. Oh, you do get penalties for the second target. So you could actually give you and your allies more attack speed with an AoE Grave Chill. Right? Okay, so it's slightly good. You're losing 75% of the value, though. So we're talking like 20 attack speed per extra person drained. But hypothetically, you could really right-click one of them a little bit harder. All right, Wind Ranger, one of the best carries of the last meta. Whirlwind facet was just way too good. Number one, the cooldown, bonkers, 70, 50, 30. You would just use it to farm. Wind Ranger can no longer shoot arrows while channeling. That's fair. Which means that if you use Power Shot, you stop shooting arrows, which is fair. Damage reduction increased down to 35%. So you lose more damage per attacking, and the duration is also reduced down to 8 seconds. So I think when you're stunned as well, you're not attacking. So disarm, stuns, very effective against Wind Ranger, but the cooldown being increased at all levels is just really important because 30 seconds in the late game was just pretty low. And the duration being dropped down to by 1 second is a big deal too. Like, really does matter. Because sometimes you did need to use it for a longer period of time. But yeah, Gleipnir, Wind Ranger builds, very, very standard and normalized and strong. She was definitely one of the carries of the tournament without a doubt. Windrun Ag Scepter invisibility buff now dispelled if the base Windrun buff is dispelled. Okay. So if you would dispel her... I mean, she has a Windrun can't be dispelled talent, right? Yeah, 25. But if you weren't there yet and you had Ags and it got dispelled, she would still be invisible, which is pretty annoying. All right, good to know. Nobody bought Ags, though. They would just buy more damage items. Maybe later, 4th or 5th item, they would buy it sometimes, but... And the final change, Winter Wyvern, Essence of the Blue Heart, the facet that nobody ever wants to take. Healing converted to mana increased by 4%. Okay. One way to give your teammates mana. But everyone takes Dragon Sight for bonus damage. Because when you'd use this, you would just get damage. Like 35 damage. Level 4 Arctic Burn. Which is kind of good. Okay, that's the patch. Not insubstantial. I got some cool ideas, I think, for stuff to try. I'm not going to be able to stream for much longer. I have about 3 hours that I can do some ideas. But I got some ideas here. Item changes most interesting. I agree with that. Let's go for assists and magic damage. That's guaranteed. Not as many people playing Dota these days. A lot of people playing Deadlock. Why would that happen? Okay, cool. Let's run some ads. Oh yeah, and the Chen build. I got Chen build. It should work, but we can test it really quick.
Leap of faith.
Weird.
So begins the persecution. Obelisk, guide me.
Prepare for battle.
Tomato Revenge!
May it please you.
Very good. Alright, we're ready. Alright, Chen Ags, Crystal Maiden, Dazzle support, Grim, Lich, Pugna. I wrote down literally all supports. Literally all supports. Turn off ability draft today. What was I gonna check? Oh yeah. Let me try to find some cores that I feel like playing. Bat Rider? Hello. Bat? Bloodseeker? Bloodseeker. I'll try to do Chen first then. Clock, Dazzle, Death Prophet. Not Doom. That here's win rate's gonna get tanked today. Like really bad tanked. It's gonna be like multiple percentages lost, I feel like. Especially if you go Midas. Part of the reason the Midas builds feel good. Oh, you have more levels than your opponents? You do just 15% more damage to your opponents? Okay, good to know. The upside is that they're gonna have to start buffing Doom, and eventually Doom right click build is gonna be viable again. It's coming, guys. Draw Ranger sounds kind of fun. Gyro, Huskar, Juggernaut. A lot of nerfs. A lot of nerfs for sure. What we should do is look at hero trends. Heroes that Bounty Hunter is number 2. Really? It's really up there, huh? Wonder if it's going to change from the patch. Because the patch came out about 7 p.m. for me last night. I didn't see that it came out until like 9:30, and I was like, there's no way I'm starting patch notes at 9:30. I'm going to get tired in like 1 hour. Tinker has lost 5%. Take that one, Ringmaster. You piece of shit. There's really not that many cores in the top 10. This is pretty rare, guys. This is a support patch. This is legitimately a support patch. Look at all these heroes. This is a lot of supports. Support, 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 possible support, support. Could be core. Coddle may be better because they buffed Spirit Vessel. Nyx. Like, with that said, a lot of the heroes